Really hard not to talk about the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef, especially when you are from Toronto and when you're an astrologer. The rap beef of 2024 that happened in the first quarter um, has astrology embedded all over it. I mean, our lives is astrology. Astrology really is the realities of our lives. What we perceive is not what is truly going on, and everybody's having an individual experience while all of us being connected. In the Uranus Jupiterian complex, a lot of my research was clearly I derive a lot from the astrology podcasts. He's just amazing. He's one of my teachers. Chris had Richard Tarnas on, and they discussed this at length. And that was, I think, about a 2-hour episode. He made a part two with Patrick Watson, so I had time to really see how the Jupiterian, which is faith, belief, inspiration, and Uranus came together for this one. So let's start. In the eclipse, there was two eclipses. There was one on April 10th, April 8th, and the first one was on March 25th. The eclipse of March 25th was in Libra. The South Node was in Libra. And then the eclipse of April 8th was in Aries. The ruler of that eclipse was in Pisces, and on the 10th, 2 days later, will conjunct Saturn. So let's talk about the eclipse first. The eclipse, you have to know that Drake is an eclipse baby. He's born, I think, about a week after an eclipse. In Libra. But yeah, this was a nodal return. Not only was it a nodal return for Drake and Kendrick, 1986, 1987, but it was also a pre-birth eclipse for Drake. So of course this was going to impact his chart, and also Chiron playing a huge role. Chiron being our collective wound. With Drake, the appropriation of another culture, the violation of another culture, the colonization of another culture for personal gain has been a sore subject for the black communities. Has been especially how he represent the culture and his lack of representation of the culture. Drake is of a black father and a black mom and a white mom from Toronto. He's mixed race. He's of Jewish background. His child is, I think, 75 or 85% white. His mom is white. The mother of his child, is white. So when you look at it through that lens, there is nothing about Drake that says I am a black man. Even if one of his interviews on Rap Radar, on Rap Caviar, I'm not sure, he says, and I quote, I associate as a black man. Now the proper word is actually I identify as a black man. But here it says I associate. So I wonder if that was not done purposely, whereas, you know, someone could say I associate myself with these groups of people, but I don't identify as one of them. Or if it was just a Freudian sleep. So that one, I'm not sure, but I find it fascinating. A nodal return with Chiron as a signature, it talks about our deepest wounds, i.e. Kendrick Lamar referring to the slaves. You know that slavery is still a very deep subject for African Americans, where they're still in talks of reparations, where they're still in talks of the 40 mules, and just how he's been portraying the hip hop family, or how he's been misrepresenting the hip hop family for black people who have been fighting for especially male figures in the household, especially black father, black absentee father. I feel like this nodal return is a time for him to refine his roots or his true motivators. This nodal return also comes on the tail of a Sun square Pluto for Drake. He has the transit Pluto that entered Aquarius on January 21st was squaring his natal sun. Every time I see Sun Pluto, I always think of someone, Sun, especially Pluto, and Pluto transit in a difficult aspect to someone's natal sun, because your natal sun is your identity, is your work, is your vitality, is how you came to identify yourself. And a lot of time I have seen transit Pluto squaring someone's natal sun where there is a loss of job, a loss of employment, or a divorce, a difficult divorce. I think that it's Kim K that was having a Pluto square her natal sun. Another feature of that Sun square Pluto that was striking to me was the fact that it also, the South Node was gonna go over his natal sun. So that was right at the end of the Scorpio Taurus, right before the shift into Libra Aries axis. And his natal sun is at 0.33 degree Scorpio, so it's right at the end. And it's actually also right around that time that I first started paying attention to Drake's chart, because when you see someone going through, or you know that they're gonna be experiencing a hard time, such as a transit Pluto squaring someone's natal sun, then you can expect a crisis in identity. And then you have the South Node going over that. And I felt like this person is going to be going through a transformation, an internal transformation, and a transformation of identity, a crisis of identity. And the South Node going over, whoever that person was before would no longer serve the collective going forward. South Node is released. There's a lick in that energy. That energy is getting drained, right? It's not like, and it's drained in a not in a systematic way, not in an organized way. It can not abrupt, but it's not as thoughtful as or well thought of as you do with the North Node. The South Node, there is a loss of energy. So that combined with the Pluto transit, Pluto squaring his natal sun, I became aware of it last year. Actually, exactly a year ago. I became aware of it April 6th of last year. That's when I started doing research on Drake's chart to see who that person is. So also one of the things that I like to look at is what is that natal relationship first. So Drake is natally Sun Pluto. His Sun conjunct Pluto. It's a white orb. It's about 7 degrees. It's about 7 degrees, but it's Pluto. You know, the co-presence. But to me, that's a conjunction. And I track that Pluto. The first sextile is exactly when he comes on the scene. He comes on the scene, I think, 2008. Pluto just entered Capricorn. Drake is October 24th and Kim Kardashian is October 21st. So if you look at their chart, they actually came on the scene at the exact same time. Those 3 days apart, they were receiving the same sextile from Pluto. So not only they received the sextile, which is an harmonious aspect, and then Pluto, and as on the onset of entering a whole new house. For Drake, Capricorn is his 6th house of work. 6th house of work. For Kim Kardashian, it was her 2nd house of money. She's rising Sagittarius. 2nd house of money, of self-esteem, of resources, you know, all the good stuff that you find in a 2nd house. And you saw how her and her family dominated. They all became billionaires, I think, over the past 15 years. So from 2007, 2008, all the way till 2022, 2023. 2023, right? And for Drake, it was in his work environment. It was in the 6th house. If you track those transits, Drake received a lot of sextile during that time. He came to prominence and he dominated for the past 15 years. Of course, he experienced all the transits that, you know, he had at one point. I think he has a moon in Cancer, so at one point I think he had Pluto opposed this moon. And when I looked it up, it also coincided with it gives me a date when apparently he was slapped in Miami by Diddy. I'm gonna pull the charts. I'll put it in the video So that's a moon opposition. That's a moon Pluto opposition. That is not easy to live. I had a Pluto square in my moon. It's the dark night of the soul. I don't wish it on my worst enemy. So as a man in the rap culture where everybody's, is the super masculine, the masculinity of the rap culture, I don't think that having another man slap you is something that he lived well. There is a deleted Instagram post that is online. When you read the caption, you can't help but feel for this person. It's belittling to be slapped by another man. Anyways, so that was 2000. So we entered 2008. Pluto in Capricorn till 2023. But now Pluto's about to enter Aquarius, a fixed sign. Scorpio is a fixed sign, so that will make a square. So as soon as Pluto enters Aquarius, that's the first square. It is the first square, and then there is an eclipse. Now, it is the seventh house of contract for him. And Pluto, contract, large relationships, powerful relationships, powerful people. On the day of the square, I think his label, UMC, UMG, Universal, and AI, they issued a cease and desist. Pluto went back into Capricorn. He retrograded. For a few months. But I knew that it either had three or... Well, it has... Actually... When Pluto went into Aquarius the first time, I don't think it even made it to 0.33 degrees. I think it just went all the way to 0.19 degrees. But because it was happening during eclipse season, I felt that that was going to be important. Yes. It didn't seem that the exact square was going to happen until February 7th of 2024, which was this year. And then he has two other hits. He has one in August, and he has one in December. But it was during eclipse season, and that is when, and also in that eclipse, shortly after, transit Mars was going to conjunct his moon. So I knew that there was a bad news coming up. Something was going to upset him. I put that in my notes. What happened is that they started releasing AI music using his voice or imitating his voice. I think there was copyright infringements. I think that his label stepped in, and he also, via Insta story, expresses discontentment. They're saying like, enough is enough, all right, this is enough, type of thing. But I knew that it was the Pluto entering, but I felt like there was more to see with, because now I had identified who Pluto was, and to me Pluto was UMG, one of his big partners. I don't know if it's got the biggest deal in music. Apparently it's 400 million. I'm not sure, but that was the first dispute with AI and TikToks, and when Pluto finally squared for the first time exactly his natal sun on February 7th, 2024, it showed up as Universal removing all the artists' music from TikTok. I'm not really online, so these are just it's really hard for me to get the exact terminology that is used, but from what I gathered, him, Taylor Swift, and other Universal. I don't know if Universal is UMG, if it's the same label, but his label told TikTok that they could no longer use their artist music. But he has 2 more hits. And after this rap battle and everything that's been unearthed about Drake, Sun square Pluto. Pluto loves to dig underneath underground activities, mafia activities, things that is hidden from the general public, corruption, mafia, underage, not necessarily relationship, but you know, the whole talk about him with underage girls. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if that led to, in August, some strikes on behalf from his parent company, from his label company. And I say that because the allegations are so, again, Nodal Conjunct Chiron, you know, these are our collective wounds. These are things that are very hard for us to see a popular person being embroiled in. I mean, anyone, but even harder for someone of the popularity of Drake to be associated with. I think that it will be distancing from the Universal or one of his major contracts. I don't know who endorses Drake. I think he has a Nike deal. Yeah, I think there's a Nike. It's funny, I've never seen Drake with any luxury labels. Like, is he a luxury person? I'm not sure. He doesn't strike me as. But I wouldn't be surprised if Universal distances themselves from Drake, or Nike distances themselves. I wouldn't be surprised if more stuff comes to the surface due to the fact that he has transit Pluto squaring his natal sun, and also with the South Node. First, I don't even think that Drake will come back from this rap beef. Definitely not this year. And when there's a square sun, when Pluto is squaring your natal sun, that identity is no longer like it was. It will be complete demolition, complete. This is burn it to the ground and rebuild anew. You know, and I think we've seen it in this beef. Like, what was striking was the how Kendrick attacked his character. And to me, this goes to, again, Sun, Pluto, asking you to face to remove the mask of what no longer serves you, to face everything you've been hiding about you, everything you didn't want to see about yourself. Pluto's asking him to confront. Pluto's confronting. Pluto tear down this person. Not only did Pluto tear down this person, but then you also have the North Node asking for healing. The North Node, you know, I mean, you have the South Node distancing itself from him altogether, from Drake altogether. But you also have the North Node in Aries asking for healing, and another striking feature of that is that, yes, not only is Kendrick Lamar same generation, he's also got North Node in Aries, but his North Node conjunct Jupiter. So Kendrick had a nodal return conjunct collective Chiron conjuncting his natal Jupiter. And what did Kendrick do? Jupiter is belief. Jupiter acted here as the savior. There's a savior complex here. Jupiter had the audacity. As Jupiter in Aries, he had the audacity to go after Drake in that manner. There's many more things, such as the Mars conjunct Mercury, battle rapper. Mars, Mercury being words, Mars being battle. I mean, aggression. A lot of rappers will have that signature. In Cancer, protecting his heritage. Cancer is the natural home of the natural ruler of the fourth house, a house of inheritance, of heritage, of your foundation, right? Protecting the family front. He says it in his lyrics. Hide the family. You know, these are not our values. Jupiter values, I mean, Jupiterian values in terms of beliefs, you know, not values like in Taurus, like what do you value, but in terms of belief, right? So let's go back to Drake. You know, because I'm only talking about the in the Sun square Pluto, the attack on his identity, it is so Sun square Pluto. Who are you? Who? It forces you to confront your ego. And there is a destruction, by the way, of what you identified with. Pluto will destroy that, squash that. It no longer. And the South Node linking that, you no longer, how you identified yourself no longer serves the collective. We don't need this. We don't want this anymore. This is not for us, right? And for him himself, the person that he has been cosplaying no longer as accepted, you know. And I think that also speaks of the North Chiron. You know, we don't need this. This is not who we are. This is not what we embody. These are not our values. This is not what we represent. This is not where we're going. This is not where we're going, right? That North Chiron and the Jupiter on Kendrick's North Node. It's fascinating. What else? All right, so let's talk a bit about the